If we define Shiva as consciousness, then Shakti is the awareness of that consciousness. So all of these are tools for our transformation. First is the mantra, then the yantra, and then is the tantra. And all of these are ending with the suffix tra. In one way to explain is tra means to protect. All of these protect us. In many temples, this idea of nudity. Why are these temples being portrayed in that manner? Why do we need to see what should be in a private space? Why is it being publicly displayed? Attraction with the pasham, repulsion with the ankusham, and she represents that central balanced state of awareness. So when it is a long sound at the end, it refers to Shakti. So Shiva, Aham, Shivoham means I am Shiva. Shivaham means I am Shakti. So I am both Shiva and Shakti, and I offer myself completely to you. Complete surrender. Welcome to all of you. Living Tantra, exploring Shakti, spirituality and sensuality. We have traveled in this ocean of awareness for centuries and millennia before we have arrived at this form of human birth. And having achieved a human birth, we still struggle for many, many more centuries, many, many more births before we come into a quest of understanding the deeper meanings of life. So finding a satsang, an association of people who are also interested in searching for truth, and then getting even deeper to the meaning, the final meaning of what life is all about, the desire, the intense desire for liberation. So all of these three things are said to be very difficult to obtain. So I think we are all in a very elite group. Since we are humans, we are in a satsang, right? All looking or searching for truth and having that desire to go deeper into what is liberation and what are all of these ideas. So that brings us to the questions of life and death. We come to these questions saying, okay, what is life? What is death? What is my purpose in life? And what happens after death? So all of these questions, they do come to us at some point of our journey, and we realize that in essence, life and death are two sides of the same coin. So living continuously is the same thing as dying continuously. Our body is made up of billions and billions of cells, and they are constantly being born, they are sustained for some time, and they are dying. And yet, we experience life as a continuous flow. So that flow of time is indicated by the change, the process of change, which is either called life or it is called death. So it is, in a sense, the two sides of the same coin. And as we look at the universe around us, we see that it is filled with duality and polarity, right? So everything has two sides to it. You have hot, you have cold, you have high and you have low, you have mountains, you have valleys, you have ascending energies, you have descending energies, you have what else? Come up with some more. Yes, we have the sun and the moon, you have fire and water, right? So many things which are equal and opposite in nature. So the duality of nature is almost self-evident, and the male and the female energies are strikingly evident in this universe. You see this image of divine masculine and the divine feminine, and they seem to be completely opposite to each other. And just like our logo of the Shaktikumbh, you see that there is a Sri Yantra behind them, and although they look and feel different, they are in a sense one and the same. So what is seen as two different entities is in reality just one. And this can be explained in various forms as the masculine and feminine is one aspect, and then as we give them the terms of Shiva and Shakti. If you see this image is of Shiva lying in a prone position, and Shakti is seated above him, and she is in union with him. So the concept is that Shiva and Shakti are the divine couple who in their union manifests the entire universe. So Shiva is a silent witness to the drama that is created by Shakti. So we know Shakti, Prakriti, Maya, we know how much drama she creates, right? So the constantly changing names and forms, the infinite richness and variety of the universe that we see, we just cannot compare. What nature gives, what nature provides is stunning, whether in the terms of the visual or any other form. So nature has its beauty, its variety, its richness, everything. And Shiva represents just the silent witness who is passive, is inert, and he represents an energy which is static. And Devi or Shakti represents a dynamic energy which is constantly changing. So the change is her nature, constant change, the Maya. So she is represented as the dominant force because Shiva has to be approached through Shakti. It is through the dynamic energy that we can access what Shiva is. So if Shiva represents the silence or the stillness of our mind, he can only be accessed through the dynamic energies that are present in nature and present in us as well. So we are all embodiments of Shakti. It does not matter whether we are male or female. That is only the external form, but we are all embodiments of that energy. So that energy which is there within us is what we awaken. So if we define Shiva as consciousness, then Shakti is the awareness of that consciousness. So this pure consciousness doesn't even have any connection with what it really is. No idea. It's only the awareness that brings about the knowledge of consciousness to consciousness. It is like a mirror, presenting a mirror. So the mirror is the awareness which helps consciousness understand what it is. It is like when we stand in front of a mirror, we see a reflection of ourselves. We see a head, we see two eyes, two ears, a mouth. We see our body, hands, feet, everything. For example, the demon king Ravana would stand in front of the mirror. He would see 10 heads, 20 hands, 20 feet, and so many things. So this awareness shows to the consciousness the entire manifest universe. So we are looking at the entire universe. So we are the universe. So we see that the consciousness, God wanted to see himself as many. So that is the reason for the creation of the whole universe. God, the desire of God to see himself as many. But he cannot do that without the presence of Shakti. And then the reverse process is also through Shakti. From Shakti, we reverse the process and go back to the source, who is the eternal Shiva, eternal principle of Shiva. So the awareness and the mirror. In many rituals, you see that they don't do the puja directly to the idol. In fact, they have a mirror placed and then they offer everything to the mirror. So that mirror is representing the Shakti. Mirror is the mind. So the clearer and the purer the mind is, it can reflect the essence of the consciousness back. A center and also a circle, and there is a person standing there. So we have two states of existence. One is when we are at the center, and one is when we are at the periphery of the circle. The presence of a circle implies that there is a center, right? So every circle must have a center. from the center or the bindu, a circle can manifest. So they are again interdependent. So circle implies the center, and the center forms or manifests the circle. So we can, in the center of the circle, which is our usual mode of perception, and observe the universe that is there around us. That is the usual way that we operate, and that is, we are being in the individual mode of experience. But to understand what is the cosmic mode of experience, we have to be in the circle. So in the circle, all the modes of expression, and through all these modes of expression, you look at yourself. So if I were to see myself through all of your eyes, listen to myself through all of your ears, and all of the sense organs, everything, that is the cosmic perception or the cosmic awareness. So being in the center and seeing the world is one way, but being the world and experiencing what it is in the center is the cosmic way. So how do we get there? Let's see. Try. So here we come to an idea of coherence. So what is coherence? The moving of individual consciousness towards a unified, harmonious, and group consciousness. So if you were to visualize, for example, a bunch of nails, and you take a magnet to it, and what happens immediately? All the nails kind of bunch together and they align themselves in a certain way with the polarity. Or universal consciousness is completely aligned to the universal. That is when it is said to be coherent. Okay, so coherence is another name for Kundalini, and that Kundalini we are familiar with in some aspects. So the Kundalini energy is nothing but coherence that is resonating within our body, within each and every cell of our body. When our thoughts and our words and our actions are resonating with each other, and when there is a complete unity between all of these, then it becomes coherent, and that leads to the awakening of the energies of the Kundalini. And when the energies are awakened, then it leads us to higher states of awareness. So moving from the individual consciousness of the small I, me, myself. So I am like a tiny ant in this entire universe, and understanding that even though I am manifested in this small object or in this small life and body, in reality, I am the entire cosmos itself. How is that possible? Right? So it is like thinking of, we know that the drop in the ocean. So ocean is made up of several millions of drops. But it is also true that the ocean is contained within the drop. How else can we understand? How can our minds grasp those universal realities? How is it even possible? Unless we are also connected to that same source. It's only because of that existing connection we can tap into that universal consciousness, and we can literally download what is there in that universal or cosmic consciousness. So moving from individual consciousness, so this can also be explained as the particle and the wave, right? So particle with the wave consists of several particles, and together they are forming one huge, wave, and that is moving as if it is one. It is moving in a coherent manner. Or you can also explain it as a wave and the ocean. So each of us is like one wave in that ocean of consciousness. And when we get together, and when we work together as a harmonious group or as a harmonious entity, then magic happens. And that is really the essence of trying to understand our role in the universe. So be connected to each and every person, everything around you. Be connected to nature, be connected to the ultimate, who is represented by anything and everything that is manifest in the universe, really. So that is where we begin. Okay, so moving ourselves from the individual to the universal. So this image, all the rocks are different, all the they have different weight, different shapes, different this thing, but they are moving or they are operating as one. Okay, so that is the important thing. It is also, when you are very deeply moved by an experience, it could be music, it could be dance, it could be any kind of experience which resonates with you completely, and every hair on your body is standing up. That is an experience of Kundalini. So when all the energies align, all the different energies in your body align, and they are they act as one, that is the energy of the Kundalini. So there are several ways that we can access these energies, and we will look at a few of them. The first is mantras. So we are all familiar with the word mantra, and the role of the mantra is really to convert this body of flesh into a body of light. So mantras vibrate in, they are essentially vibrations in space and time. So we know at an ordinary level, our mind, the state of our mind, it is noisy, it is disturbed, it is opinionated, it is judgmental, so many different things. Or on the other hand, it could also be dull, it could be almost like a state of numbness, perhaps total inactivity. So both these states, they are called as rajasic and tamasic. So I think you are all familiar with these terms. So the role of the mantra is to take you from the states of tamas and rajas towards a state of sattva. So what is the state of sattva? It is clarity and a complete, a conscious, alert state which has complete clarity. That is sattva. So helping you to go past this mind and body complex is what the mantra does. So mantras, they are special sounds, vibrations which resonate with you at a very deep level. They are obviously not man-made. They have been heard by the rishis and sages. And to help us control the mind, what we do is we give a job to the mind. You are allowed to think of only one thing, and that one thing is the mantra. So you restrict your thoughts just to the mantra. But at some stage, the mantra also has to fall away, and all then that you are left with is silence. So to attack the whole animal is difficult. So you target one point and then you say, okay, this is how we will go about it. Okay? So we are all familiar with the Ashtanga yoga, right? For the first four, asana and pranayama, the first four are related to the control of the body, and then you move into the workings of the mind. So pratyahara, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. So it is with mantras that we can overcome the limitations of and the modifications, all of these things that are happening in the mind. The starting point is with mantra. So with the sound and vibrations, vibrations of sound energies in time and space, that is what is reality, right? So first step is the mantras, and of course you have mantras in different forms. You have different kinds of yoga. First, you have the bhakti yoga. You sing and you chant with the bhajans. You know, the collective energies that you generate when you do something as a group, that is multiplied manifold. So singing and chanting bhajans together, it creates a tremendous effect. So bhakti yoga, jnana yoga. So you access the knowledge of the self through mantras like Soham, Om. All of these mantras point to your inner self, and by chanting these mantras, we can get a glimpse of what is that reality. And then you have other forms of yoga like Hatha Yoga, also which uses some Bijaksharas like Hum to awaken the Kundalini. And then you have the Kundalini Yoga itself, you can put that image, where the Kundalini is the sleeping energy at the Swadhisthana Chakra, Mooladhara and Swadhisthana Chakras, and it is subsequently taken through the chakras in the body. And all the Bijaksharas or all the seed letters are invoked into the body itself. The most important characteristic of a seed is that it contains information, right? So, all the DNA, everything that seed needs to know what it is to become, what tree, what flowers, what fruits, what color of those flowers, what taste of the fruit. So much information is packed into that seed, and that is why the seed is of absolute, essential. And the seed letters, as they are called, these are all the letters that are placed within the chakras in our body in different places. The places are fixed. It's not that they can just randomly move anywhere. So those energies, the Bijaksharas, which really are talking about the aksharas of the Sanskrit alphabet. So these are placed in the various chakras of our body, and by placing those energies in our body, we are accessing that aspect of Shakti. So there is a concept called as Matruka Nyasam. So Nyasam simply means invoking a certain energy into a certain part in your body. So the Matruka energies are all of the letters, Am, Im, etc., all the way up to Ksham. So just the letters themselves distributed in our body represent the mantra of Saraswati herself. So Saraswati is the goddess of learning, and the letters, which are the primary source from which everything, in fact creation itself, happens from the first manifestations of sound, which are the Shiva Sutras or the Maheshwara Sutras, the primordial sounds which Shiva creates by his Damaru, by the playing of the Damaru. And those sounds are the ones that group themselves into 8 forms of Saraswati, and then from there the manifestation progresses further. So everything starts from sound. So the letters become words, words become sentences, sentences then become literature, they become poetry, they become music, they become dance, they become, so everything is said to have emerged from those primordial sounds, and those are the Bijaksharas. Naad Yoga, through sound, right? So the resonance that music creates within the 7 chakras, within the vibration frequencies within our body, and that is why I guess music is called as a universal language, because it is the core frequencies that exist within all of us, and it is these frequencies that are distributed in these chakras in our body. And when we hear something, we are touched to the very core by all of this, and there is a resonance, there is an understanding that it is not at the surface level, it is something that is going very, very, very deep into me, right? So the Nada Yoga. So in fact, all of our practices, whether it is Ayurveda, whether it is yoga, whether it is Nada Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, all of these practices, they all aim at taking you back to the source, and many of them are complete in themselves. Each and every aspect of life is geared towards that journey of the self from the individual to the cosmic, each and every aspect. And that is why I guess, this land is so blessed, because every action, at every stage, you are connecting yourself with those energies. In the smallest of actions that you do on a day-to-day basis, to the higher, the so-called higher forms of meditation, samadhi, dhyana, all of that also. Every stage, you are connecting yourself to those primordial energies, and that is the place where we need to be, because that is the source, That is where everything comes from, and that is also our goal. That is where we need to head back. The word yantra is also, I think, known to most of us. It can be understood as sacred geometry. So when it is a two-dimensional form, it is like you see in the logo of the Shaktikumbh, you can see the Sri Yantra there. And it is also as a three-dimensional Meru. Then it is called a Meru. So the two-dimensional one is called a Yantra, and when it is in a three-dimensional form, it is a Meru. And this Meru is actually compared or correlated to our body itself. The central spinal cord is nothing but the Meru Danda. It is described as the Meru Danda. And the energies. So in this image, you see like one large Meru, and there are several structures that are placed on it, which are also Merus. So in a sense, this is like a hologram where the part is indicating the whole. So we are all the parts, the different Merus, if you will, of this whole structure, and we are the entire structure itself is also the Meru. So the entire universe is the Meru. All of us are representing the Meru. Meru is what? It is the union of the energies of Shiva and Shakti. That is it. So in a very simple language, Shiva and Shakti, their union is our individual bodies, is the cosmos, is literally everything. So the Sri Yantra is also described as feminine energy, because it is the energies that are most important in our body with which we have to work. So the Yantra in a different sense is also a tool. So what is the tool? The tool that we have is our body, our mind, our ego. This is the tool. And it is only with this tool that we have to transcend these very same things, which are the body, mind, and the ego, right? So if you consider like an example of a pole vaulter, he takes this javelin and then he runs for a considerable distance, and he makes use of that, places that in the ground, and then crosses a height that is 3 times or more than his own height. So how is he able to do that? How do you transcend that limitation of your physical body? By using these tools of mantra, of yantra, the technique that is involved, right? So running from the distance, so keeping your mind concentrated. The mantra keeps you focused and concentrated. Then you make use of, you ground yourself in one place, and then you make use of that that thrust to be able to take you to the other side of that border. So, and the technique, learning how to go about all of this, that is also very important. So all of these are connected. So the mantra and the yantra. So all of these are tools for our transformation. First is the mantra, then the yantra, and then is the tantra. And all of these are ending with the suffix tra. In one way to explain is tra means to protect. All of these protect us. The mantras protect us. The yantras are energy fields. Our body is an energy field. When you chant mantras, it creates a field of energy, a field of vibrations in which there is energy is kind of locked into that space. And tantra is the technique of accessing those energies with the help of the mantra and the yantra. So it is the combination. So I don't know if this image is very clear, but it is like two people, and they're kind of connecting at the brain level. Yeah. And so essentially what is happening is tantra means also to expand or to stretch. Expanding what? Expanding your consciousness to include not just the concept of me, myself, but to include the concept initially of the other. And then eventually that other includes the entire universe. So realizing your identity with the entire universe and everything that is present in it. And that is what is Tantra. So being able to feel one with everything that you see. The deity you are worshipping, you yourself, the universe, everything, whatever is there, is in essence one. But till we reach that state, we are in a state of the different and the Maya, where we are different and the deity you are worshipping is different. But at the same time, that distance is needed till you are able to have that experience for yourself. And Tantra is a sadhana which doesn't tell you, okay, this is that, and I'm saying so you just have to listen to me. No. It says, you experiment, you try it out for yourself. These are the techniques. Try it out. You cannot become a swimmer by standing and outside the water and pretending that you're in the water and doing that. No, you have to get into the water, you have to test the waters literally, and you have to find your way in that water. So you have to be there, experience, and then understand through your experience. So and for that reason it is called a sadhana shastra. So more than what is taught, it is through your own experience with the mantras, with the techniques, with all of this. What do you experience? What does it mean to you? So it is challenging you to find out for yourself what is this spirit, what is this, what are these energies, and what is my connection to all of this. So it is challenging you, and if we accept the challenge, then we go deeper and try to find out more. So the universal symbols of creation, on the right, of course, we all know that is the Shiva Lingam, and on the left is the Yoni. There are a lot of flowers, maybe it's not very clear, but it is representing the Yoni. So these are the symbols of creation, the Lingam and the Yoni. The Lingam and the Yoni are never apart. When the Lingam is more prominent, it is called as the Shiva Lingam. When the Yoni or the surrounding space is prominent, then we refer to it as the Yoni. But they are always together. Okay, and while at one level they do represent the human sexuality, it is also to be understood at several different levels. The first level is at the Mooladhara and the Swadhisthana chakras, where they are expressed in terms of the male and the female sexual organs. And here the state of consciousness is referred to as Jagrat. Okay. In the next level of awareness, where you have the Manipura and the Anahata, the Manipura represents the lingam of Agni, and at Anahata you have the energy or the Shakti of love. So here the lingam and the yoni are the fire and love. This is the swapna state of manifestation. So first one is Jagrat, then next one is the swapna. So these next two chakras. And then you come to the third level, which is where the space itself is the yoni, right? The yoni itself is space, and the time represents the lingam. You know what another word for Shiva is Kala, right? Kala is time. So the interaction of space and time, that is the next level of understanding of the lingam and yoni. And these two are in the Vishuddhi and the Agnya chakras, and both of them together represent the Sushupti state. So the Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, which is the waking, dreaming and sleeping states, which we are all aware of, right? We are awake, hopefully now. We know what it is to have a dream, and we maybe not at the time, but after waking up we do know what is deep sleep, right? But there is a state which goes beyond all of these, and in that state there is no lingam, there is no yoni. It is just the experience of oneness, and that is what happens at the Sahasrara chakra. So it is a linga, no lingam, no characteristic feature there. It is just oneness. There is no other to distinguish it, right? So that is the experience at the Sahasrara. So We tend to bring everything down to the terms of the sexual symbolism, but we have to grow to the different levels to experience or to understand the deeper meanings that are contained in these physical manifestations. So, instead of trying to bring down those the great energies or those symbols just to the level of the physical is not ideal, is not helping us grow in any way. When we grow or expand our consciousness, expand our understanding to to really appreciate that what is this lingam and yoni, the space and time, and space and time moving, or the union of space and time is what creates matter or energy. So that is the thing. So it comes so close to physics. And that is why perhaps you see so many thinkers, leaders, spiritual leaders coming from a background of physics or metaphysics. Physics to metaphysics is a very easy jump, because the terminology may be slightly different. We will call them Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. They're being referred to as space, time and matter or energy. Energy is the one that is constantly changing its forms, right? It can be so many different light forms, sound forms, then magnetism, electricity, radio waves, so many, just different various forms. It's constantly changing forms. So that is the energy. Energy and matter represent the same thing. So in fact, they are like two ends of one continuous spectrum. At one end is the matter, which is this body of flesh, bones, etc. And at the other end is pure light. And consciousness is described as pure light. And we, at this gross physical body, we transform ourselves through these techniques of the mantra, yantra and the tantra to become pure beings of light. So, in a sense, Sri Vidya, or the path of worshipping the divine feminine as the mother, is the living tantra. So, I think the symbolism of the mother is one of the most beautiful and endearing symbols in the world, because the essence of what a mother stands for is something that everybody can really appreciate, and it goes so deep within our own psyche that to connect to that essence of the mother is not difficult. And maybe that is why when the Kundalini rises, we give her the name of mother. And whatever name you give to that energy will respond to you in like. So we have also this concept of the different forms of bhakti, right? So you can worship the divine in any form you like, and what is your preference, the divine will come to you in that form. So if you want to call the divine as a lover, he is ready or she is ready, as a sister, as a brother, as a child, as so many different things. So it is up to you. What do you want? What is the relationship that you want? Till the experience of oneness, all these relationships will exist. But once you understand that you are one, then all relationships vanish, and all that exists is just that oneness. Okay. So the mother is literally watching us with 1,000 eyes. So I just did a little play on words here, because our goddess at Devipuram is known as Sahasrakshi Rajarajeshwari. So Sahasrakshi means 1,000 eyes, and we know that in the parlance, it is 1,000 always represents infinite. So infinite eyes. And what are these infinite eyes? All of our eyes. So existence is happening through all of us, through all of our eyes, through all of our limbs. Sahasraksha Sahasrapad in Purusha Suktam, one of the texts, right? So 1,000 eyes, 1,000 limbs. So this is all the 1,000, the infinite forms that are there. Through all of our eyes, through all of our existence, God is experiencing himself. So we are humans experiencing divine, or the divine is experiencing through the humans. So, so both are necessary. The human is necessary just as the divine is necessary. The divine needs us. It seems maybe egoistic to say that, but it is true. Without the human, and in this context also probably it would be good to also say that the importance of the guru. Why is the guru given such an exalted place in our culture? Because it is through the guru that the divine acts. So you receive the messages, you receive the guidance through the preceptor, the teacher, whom we call the guru. So he dispels the darkness of ignorance. So it is through that form or that persona that you are able to access the higher realities. So I think there's a famous, I don't know the saying itself, if anybody knows, please help me. Kabir ka doha. So if you are in the fortunate position of meeting, हाँ,
दो खड़े आपको लागू पाए,
yeah,
बलिहानी गुरु आपको गोविंद दियो दिखाए.
yeah. So you, whom do you acknowledge first? Your guru or the deity whom you are worshipping? And the answer is that you worship the guru first, or you honor the guru first, because it is through the guru that you will receive the guidance. So, when you first come in contact with the guru and you receive the mantra, that is the first initial impetus to your spiritual journey begins from there. And that's why it's also called Dvija, or a second birth. The spiritual birth starts from there. And then the end of the journey, the final part of the journey is again cannot be accomplished without the guru. Okay, so it is said that through your own efforts you can reach up to the Agnya Chakra. But from the Agnya to the Sahasrara, it is an unknown journey. This part of the journey is known. Thoda bahut rasta hai. Right? So you have some guiding indications and all of that. Okay, this is the path. But from here, what is the path? It's not known. So that's why another term for it is Agnya. Agnya is Agnya, unknown. And this is also where the Guru appears. And it is from here to the Sahasrara, that journey, he holds you by the finger, little finger, like a pinky finger. Haath pakdo, come. And he takes you and shows you that you are not that little, finite being that you thought you were. You are, in fact, none other than the ultimate cosmic reality. So till then, we are known as Jiva Shivas. So we are in this form of the Jiva, or the embodied consciousness. And when you reach that highest level, then Devi shows you that you are none other than Shiva, and that you and I are one and the same. So that whole journey, that is that spiritual journey. And that journey is described most beautifully in the Tantra of Sri Vidya. So here, one second, and that's, yeah, that's okay. So we see, as Nilima talked about it, in many temples, this idea of nudity, right? And why are these temples being portrayed in that manner? Why do we need to see what should be in a private space? Why is it being, publicly displayed?
No, I went to Konark yesterday.
Yesterday, day before, yeah. So you have seen, and some, I mean, we cannot see that close, but we have all the images. The internet provides us with a lot of material, and we can see these images in great detail. But why have they been put there in the first place? You have to introspect and understand what are these four goals of life: the dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So, kama, or desire, which starts with sexual desire, that is the starting point, but that is not the ending point. Through all of these, you can attain moksha. You can attain the highest experience of who you are. So, nudity is in fact a different word for purity. If you see in the world, it is only humans who are wearing clothes, right? None of the other species in the world wears clothes. So, clothes are another way of describing the limitations. We are tying ourselves up in these limitations. So many things, my identity, who am I, is bound by this. In which class I was born, which community I was born, which caste, high caste, low caste, or whether I was born in the west or the east. So many ways of limiting ourselves. All of these are represented by the clothes. Why does the divine need clothes? Right? And the divine says, you come to me, you understand, you and I are one. The entire universe is her creation. And during birthing, during feeding, the mother and child are nude. During the process of birth, do you think in terms of sexuality? You are completely awed by the whole process of the creation. What kind of a wondrous creation is this? And it doesn't, that those kind of thoughts don't come to you at all. So the purpose of having these depictions on the temple walls is that you introspect, you understand that this is a part of life. This is also something that can take you towards the divine. There are many people who refuse to keep a picture of the god or goddess or anything in the bedroom. Do you think God doesn't know what's happening there? It's a small thing, but sometimes we are so foolish to think, right? So, and nudity is like a raw energy. So, in Devipuram also, you have all of the Khadgamala deities, all the deities which are present in the Sri Chakra, they are known as the Khadgamala deities. And all of the deities are shown in the nude, and also some of them are in very provocative postures. Okay. Here there is no Shiva, but it's all Devi, right? But Shiva is there with her. So many people found it very difficult to accept, especially in the beginning. And some people would come and say, we will give you saris, why don't you, put saris around her? So it's not a question of clothing her, right? She is the raw energy and she wants to bless you completely. It is like uninsulated power. So the copper wire, all that insulation that is there, all the coverings, all the malinas, what is there around, nothing is there. It's you and it's her. You approach her, you love her, embrace her, and she will do the same to you. So that is why it is on her request that the idols are represented in that way. She says, you are my children. And she wants, as a mother, every mother wants the best for her children. And she is Jagannatha, she is, the mother of the whole universe. So sometimes there are ways in which she leads you back to the path, because if she feels that you're going astray, that is also her responsibility, right? So she takes care that you do not divert into other ways. You enjoy life. She wants you to enjoy life completely, not that you should give up your family, your responsibilities, and go to the Himalayas for tapas or searching for truth. Truth is found here, now, in this life, in this surroundings, in this soup, in this drama that we exist. It has to be found here. And it's not something that you wait for after death. We don't know what's going to happen after death. That's not in our experience. It is what you can experience in this moment of life that you can access. So Shiva and Shakti are essentially meeting in the now. So Shiva represents destruction because he makes the present into the past. And Devi represents creation because she manifests, she brings forth the future. And where do they both meet? In the present moment, which is like this. By the time you click, the present moment is gone. So that moment when they are in union. So they are in a continuous union. That is what is in a sense meant by continuously living and continuously dying, because the process is happening all the time. So this union of the Shiva and Shakti the union of you and the world, the union of you and the deity. It's all happening at one and the same time. It's instantaneous. And that instant, every instant is happening every moment. This is one of the deities in the temple. Deity here is Rajarajeshwari or Tripura Sundari. Okay, so what does she represent? So any deity is to be understood by what they hold in their hands, and they are referred to as weapons. Okay, in the arms and the back, she has what are called as the pasha and ankusha. So pasha is represented by, it is a noose. So it is the noose. She'll put that noose around you and draw you towards her. Why? If she feels that you are running astray, going here, going there, running after all these material things, yes, they are there for your enjoyment, yes, but there is a limit. Understand that this is not the entirety of life. So then she pulls you back. And then in the other hand, she has what is called as an ankusham or a goad, which prods and pushes you towards uncomfortable situations. Say there are lessons in life that are be learnt from that, and she moves you in that direction as well. So she creates that balance between the attractive forces and the repulsive forces. So both are necessary in life, and finding that right balance is what it is all about. So attraction with the pasham, repulsion with the ankusham, and she represents that central balanced state of awareness. And in the front two hands, she has a bow, and in the right hand in front, she is holding 5 arrows which are made of flowers. So the bow itself is said to be made up of bees. So the bees are kind of strung together in a line, and they are forming the bow. And you know what bees are like. They are never in one place. They're constantly flitting everywhere, right? But in the mother's hand, they are aligned into a straight line. So it represents the focused mind. So it is with these senses and with the mind that we know about the external world. And it is with these same senses and the same mind, when turned inwards, when turned, the direction is changing, its direction is focusing towards you inwards, then it is leading you to a totally different place. So she tells you, keep these two apart, keep the mind apart from the senses. So take that inwards. So the first step, so in the way of worshipping or honoring the divine, you have what are the 5 upacharas or the 5 offerings with which you can get close to the divine. So the first is offering perfume. Okay, and the perfume is the smell, but it is symbolic of satsang. So getting together with like-minded individuals who are all interested in finding their true nature, finding their true purpose. So that is the satsang. It's the first step, the first offering. And the second one is, when having found a satsang, you realize that you need to go inwards. So the pratyahara, going inwards. And so not getting lost in the external circumstances, but finding your way back to the inner world. That is the pushpam, the flower that you are offering. Okay, Indriya Nigraham. So by controlling all these senses, not letting them go and get lost in the outer world, drawing them back and containing them within yourself, that is the Indriya Nigraham. So that is, you're offering a flower for that reason. Then you come to offering incense. So incense is representing the 6 internal enemies of lust, anger, greed, delusion, pride, jealousies. So all of these, we have to conquer them, right? Because these exist for a reason, but they also are there for us to work on them and to transcend them. So that is the incense. Just as incense, when you burn it, there's nothing left there. So everything that is there, you offer it back to her and say that all of these, this anger, this greed, everything. So containing them and controlling them is my offering to you. Then you offer the light. So light is consciousness. So you say, I'm offering this small light, but you show me my true nature, which is light itself. So you are asking her for that. And then you're coming to Naivedyam. And Naivedyam is offered at the Swadhisthana chakra. And Swadhisthana chakra, the union of Shiva and Shakti, which is the union of you and the world, which is your relationship of you and the world, and all the experiences that you have there in the world, all of that you are offering it back to her. That is the Naivedyam. Shiva Shakti Samarasyam Ananda Amruta Naivedyam. So the bliss of union, starting from there, starting from the bliss of the union of Shiva and Shakti, starting from that, but including every experience that you have in life, everything is offered back to her, right? And then, of course, you have the offering of the mind itself. The five senses are done. You have to offer the mind itself, because everything is stored in the mind. The mind itself has to be cut. So, Manolaya Swarupam, Karpura. Karpuram is camphor. So, you offer the camphor light, and just as the camphor dissolves completely, with leaving no trace, so also you surrender yourself completely and offer that to her. That is the Manolaya. And then finally, you say Shivoham, Shivaham. I am Shiva. Shiva Aham is Shivoham. And then Shiva Aham is Shivaham. So when it is a long sound at the end, it refers to Shakti. So Shiva Aham, Shivoham means I am Shiva. Shivaham means I am Shakti. So I am both Shiva and Shakti, and I offer myself completely to you. Complete surrender. So this is the most basic of the way we worship the Divine Mother, worship nature, worship her in her living manifestations of her creation. So it is, the distance that we have created for ourselves from nature. We are so far from nature. We don't honor and respect nature anymore. And that is probably why we are facing so much difficulties in the world today. Because when you don't honor and respect that life in and around everything, then it is, that is the degradation. So once you reconnect yourself, so Tantra offers the ways to that you can reconnect with nature, reconnect with these energies that are there in the cosmos and within you. So everything is there within you. It has to be awakened. There's nothing that is coming new. It already exists. They're all dormant. They are sleeping. Okay. Then we come to the final image of the Shringara, which is the peak of fulfillment. Yes, it is eroticism, and Tantra has had a bad name for several reasons. You know of the Panchamakaras, right? So Tantra really does not exclude anything. Everything that is there in our body and our existence has a purpose or can have a purpose. Whether you express that in actual real terms or not is left to the is not actually left to the practitioner, but is left to the tradition and when you are ready for certain things. So the sexual practices that we often hear about, yes, they are very much part and parcel of the tradition, but how, when, and in what context are they to be used? That is to be determined by your lineage, your guru, when you have the permission, when you have the maturity to understand the difference between sexuality and sensuality, when you can understand this and that this is, it is not meant for, exciting your senses, but it is a complete union of if you see the expressions on the faces of the couples, they are in a different state. So, how do you know from looking at the external whether it is like a person who is drunk or somebody who is a yogi? How can you know? The inner state is what is trying to be depicted here. It is not, don't get, left at the external. There is an internal process, and accessing that process, accessing those levels of divinity is what is being indicated. You come to the temples, come explore who are you, what is all of this, what is desire, what is the nature of desire, what is the purpose of desire, what is all this in life, why is it there, it has a purpose. Find out what that purpose is. So this is what the temples are encouraging you to think, to introspect, and to find out what is life all about. So, and when you go deep into these practices, it is the it is it's completely filled with Shringara. It's filled with unconditional love. We know only conditional love. If our children don't listen to us, we say, "Don't talk to me, get out." Right? So we don't accept them for the way they are, for what they are. Unconditional love, unparalleled beauty. So this path offers, everything. It offers closeness to the divine in the form of samipya. She shows you the kind of worlds that she lives in. She invites you to those worlds, the salokya. She gives you a form that is like hers. It is known as sarupya. So, it is very, very common to see pets and their owners looking alike, right? So, in the same way,
Friends, husband, wife.
yes. So a lot of is whether you call it synergy or you call it, I don't know what you call it, but you do observe that. So similarly, also she makes you like her, sarupya, and then the final stage is sayujya, where she shows that you and I are one. So that is the completeness. So it starts at the level of differences, at the level of um, the sadhaka and the deity, but it ends with the realization that there is only one thing, that there are no two things, there is just the one. And to go back, to lead us back to the source, is the purpose of all sadhana. Whatever you do, whatever form or whatever path appeals to you, at the end, this is what the spirituality and all of this is culminating in, that oneness of experience. But it says the more you love. So love is all that exists really. So open your hearts and your minds and open yourselves to love. Love expands you. All the other emotions, they contract you, they limit you. But love is the one that, really expands you and takes you across. So whatever the object of love, it is just completely engulfs you. So, all we need to do is open ourselves up to it and accept. And that acceptance is there, non-judgment is there, all of this. And not being critical, forgiving our own selves also, maybe for the mistakes we have made, forgiving the people, who are there around you, doing seva, seeing the divinity in everybody and helping them to the extent possible from, your side. So all of these in small ways, how we bring tantra practices into your day-to-day everyday life. So, resolve the differences, try to look at the similarities, try to, compassion is a very big word. We can start with kindness towards everybody, and take it from there, one step at a time. She's there, we take one step towards her, she takes 10 steps, she comes running. The mother, she is so eager to meet you. We think, we are doing something, but it is all her. She just wants to come, run, and hug you, embrace you, pick you up, and just completely uh, just be with you completely. Okay, thank you.